Welcome back. At least some House Republicans view this week's attempt for immigration reform as likely to meet the same fate as every other attempt. And now some hardliners have a plan to fund Mr. Trump's wall despite a possible failure.
I believe when the appropriations bill comes up in
October,
and we're really in September now.
Yeah.
Before when it's going to, I think it's 30th September, and I've said this for a long time. That's why I think people shouldn't go home for the August recess.
You want to shut down over the wall?
I would definitely shut down the government over the wall. Absolutely.
All right, here to discuss on this Father's Day, the voice of Indianapolis, Tony Katz, and Robert Padillo from Atlanta, Georgia. Gentlemen, good to see you. Tony, first to you. This is a pretty bold proclamation by Steve Bannon. You on board with it? What would be about a month before the midterms?
Did you say it was a bold proclamation by Steve Bannon? I didn't realize we were still worried about proclamations by Steve Bannon. Those days,
ABC News is, so I don't know if we are, or you are, but ABC News is, so go ahead.
ABC News can be thinking about it all they wish. That's totally fine. I think the immigration conversation still has to come down to whether or not we have a border or not. It really has to come down to a much greater open conversation as opposed to the partisan screamings of stealing children out of people's arms and comparing that maneuver of people actually having to follow the law.
Tony,
we're going on a second. No. Comparing it to the Holocaust.
Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute. I promise you.
That's all I'm saying.
I promise you we're going to get to all that in a minute. Meantime, back to the question I originally asked. Good idea to be willing to shut down the government over border wall funding or not?
Oh, sorry. The answer is I don't think that's what it's going to come to. The president does want the wall. He does want the money for it. The wall is extremely important to him. It's a matter of symbolism, without question for him. But shutting it down, I don't think we're there yet.
We just had Representative Joe Wilson on the beginning of the program, and he said that despite all the good intentions, he feels as though these two immigration bills, the Goodlatte bill, the compromise bill, are probably not going to get through either. So we'll see if it comes to that. Seems like it very well might, at least if you listen to folks in Congress who are going to be voting on this. Robert, Democrats have seemed to take an obstructionist view on this one. They view this better as a campaign issue than solved. Do you agree with the analysis?
No, I don't. I do enjoy the process of watching Republicans cannibalize themselves and fight over and squabble on the moderate bill and the extreme right bill. Frankly, if they really wanted to solve this issue, what they would do is find a funding mechanism for the wall. Democrats have already, and Chuck Schumer has already said that they're willing to work on the wall, find a path to citizenship for the $1.8 million dreamers, and also change some policies.
Democrats are not willing to work together with Republicans on anything that would resemble a compromise. It seems as though they've made a decision that this is better to have as a campaign issue.
Well, no, remember, there were meetings between Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump earlier this year. There was Nancy Pelosi was in those meetings. Democrats have attempted to work in good faith on this issue. Republicans in the far right of the Republican Party, not the moderates in the center, but the people who are in safe seats and don't have to worry about October have radicalized this issue. Frankly, if Republicans address this issue, they could effectively end the 2018 and 2020 races.
Speaking of radicalizing an issue, take a listen to Adam Schiff this morning.
What the administration is doing is they're using the grief, the tears, the pain of these kids as mortar to build their wall.
Tony, here is your opportunity.
Listen, Adam Schiff has beclowned himself enough. This is just one more piece of it. There's no doubt that there should be a conversation within the Republican Party. They should be having a conversation about the best ways to go forward on this. But the idea of the tears are used as mortar, and by the way, mortar, he's trying to go biblical there. You're talking about, we're going to get into Passover conversations in a second here. There should be a conversation about what you do with people who come into the country illegally. Are you going to apply the law or are you not going to apply the law? If the president wants to change a policy, he can. If Congress wants to work to change the law, they can. And you talk about the meeting between Schumer, Pelosi, and President Trump that had no funding for the wall. It was all about DACA. Democrats must accept the reality this president wants the wall, and he's going to get the funding, or really there's not going to be a movement. You're going to compromise or you're going to get nothing.
Okay, Robert,
that is the reality. You can't change the way President Trump is on this subject.
Robert, in 15 to 20 seconds, is it worth it for Democrats to keep denying the president funding for his wall?
Well, the president hasn't articulated what the funding is going to come from. For all the fiscal conservatives who have been yelling for years about the deficit, how are you paying for the wall? Explain that to me. Where's the $25 billion coming from that could be going towards supporting our troops, supporting our veterans, supporting poor families? You want to spend it on a wall that won't
supporting
work.
the troops. This is a first. Fantastic.
My sister is active duty U.S. United States Army. I support the troops 100%.
Excellent. Good on you, sir.
Well, and Robert, you have been consistent on that, so I will give you that. Tony, gentlemen,
brilliant.
Appreciate you being here. Tony, happy Father's Day, my friend. You're a good one at that.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.